Welcome to War Thunder with Subdude. How y'all doing today? That's my Voltor 2B. Ain't she a beauty? I just wish I had a French inscription and flying babe there to put on the side of the plane, but I don't. So I have to use one that's probably American or British. I don't know which. Paper doll. But gorgeous plane. Pack her up with 750-pound bombs and you can kill 2 bases. 5 bombs apiece. But that's not the reason I'm here today. The reason I'm here today is because did you notice that the French never, ever fly against the Russians? Even on a map like Spain, they don't get invited. They don't get invited to alternate Europe, or Britain, I think, or Germany, alternate Germany. They don't get invited to alternate Kaminsk. And I get the logical reason that they're using, and then I don't get it. And the reason I don't get it is because it's a false argument. Running the matchmaker, you have to balance the teams. I understand that. And right now, the French being in there, you've got a lot of people coming in and playing French planes, and you're trying to balance the matchmaker, and it's not working properly because the French were an ally of the Russians. No, they weren't. Not really. Yes, French pilots flew with the Russians, but ever being a complete ally of the Russians, no. De Gaulle didn't trust Stalin one little bit. He allowed pilots to fly there, but de Gaulle didn't trust Stalin. And that's where the problem comes in, because French planes never fly against the Russians. They never get to fly on any of the maps where they would be against Russians. However, the Russians were in Normandy, if you look at the matchmaker. Or the Russians were in El Alamein, which is utter horsepucky. There needs to be a reorganization of the matchmaker and the maps in general. Bring back Ruhr. Ruhr wouldn't be bad. Haven't seen Ruhr in 2 weeks, which is slightly insane. But right now, one of the big complaints I have is over here. You've got the MiG-15 BIS, which is only 1 deep into the jet lineup there for the Germans. You have to get the HE-162A2, and then you can get the MiG-15 BIS, which is like jumping right from, what is that, 6.7 to 9.0. Not real good. Let's take this plane, chop it off from its branch there, bring it down here, and put it on an alternative branch next to the CL-13A. And you get to decide which way you're going to go. Are you going to be East German or West German? If you're going to be East German, you get to have the MiG-15 BIS. If you're going to be West German, you get the CL-13A. That's how it should be. It's an either or, not both. Now you go, but that only leaves one Tier 9 plane for them. Yeah. Meanwhile, over in the American lineup, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Tier 9 planes, which is absolutely absurd considering that these three right there, the naval fighters, should be 8.0 because they do not match up to any of the 9.0s as far as speed and maneuverability. You go to the Russians, and you come down, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you count the sixth one, which I don't have, which is the LA-174, you have plenty of 8 and Tier 8, or Battle Rating 8 and Battle Rating 9 fighters. And they're all very good. You come to Britain, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fighters that are Battle Rating 9.0. You go to Japan, I think you've got 1. You've got 1. Go to Italy, you've got 3 BR-8 battle rating planes. And then you get to our newest nation, and you have 5 battle rating 8-9 planes. The Valtours both went up to 9.0, as well as the Mystere. The big thing is getting the matchmaker working properly. Now, maybe you need to add in a lesser nations, not that there's anything lesser about those nations, a lesser nations tree where you can start putting more Soviet planes in. Like Poland and Romania and Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia and China. And again, there's nothing lesser about any of those nations. It's just that a lot of them used Russian-made or Russian-designed aircraft. Yes, they had some indigenous building projects. China did, still does. The Romanians, the Czechs, and the Poles, they all had indigenous aircraft building programs, but they were building Russian designs. So, that might be the next way that we rebalance the battle ratings at above, in Tier 5 and into Tier 6. We start creating the Warsaw Pact so that the NATO can fly against the Warsaw Pact, as it was supposed to have happened during the Cold War. I'm glad it didn't come down to that, because I would have been involved in that. Anytime between 1945 and 1986 or so. I'm glad it didn't come down to an actual shooting war, but it really needs to be broken out like that. And for those people that actually own the MiG-15 BIS and the CL-13A, you should be able to keep them. But when you pick a plane, it goes into either a Warsaw Pact or a NATO queue. And that's the way it should be. Now, if we can get Gaijin to do that. Please, Gaijin, do something like that. Bring in a lesser nations tree and populate it with all the different modifications of Russian or Soviet, if you will, equipment that those nations built indigenously or bought from the Soviet Union. You could even include Middle East countries like Syria and Iran and Egypt and Libya if you wish to. But please, let's quit having NATO planes flying with Warsaw Pact planes against NATO planes. It just feels dirty. It just feels obscenely dirty. That's all I got. This is War Thunder. Please, Gaijin, give it a thought, give it a fix, give it something. Throw a wrench at it if you have to. Love the game. Absolutely love the game. Love my Vulture 2B. My Vulture 2B is an absolute gem. Love the plane. I'm not so sure how I'll feel about the 2A with no bomb sight. I do prefer to go bombing, but maybe you'll also include maps like Moscow. I'd love to be bombing Moscow. I know that really drives you Russians crazy, but get over it. It's a game. It's an absolute game. You could actually make American maps if you wanted to, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. All right, Subdued out. Catch you in the skies. Behave yourselves and be good to one another.